Boxing changes lives, and not the ways that you may be thinking, like the movies you see Rocky or Creed, but it changes everybody's life in the best way possible, almost instantly. My name is Jeremiah, and I've been a competitive boxer for the last 10 plus years, but not only has my career been a lot more unique than most competitors, I spent the last 10 plus years coaching boxing as well, to all levels, coaching boxing with the world, through all walks of life, from CEOs to bankers to lawyers to those that work in fitness to doctors, in a group setting, a private setting, a digital setting. Even had to work with one of the most iconic companies out there, Peloton and Rumble Boxing. In this video, I want to share the #1 reason why I believe everyone should start boxing or even include it into their everyday routines. On that note, let's get into the video. So it's no lie that boxing is super popular nowadays. It used to be about 10 plus years ago, people only watched boxing. They'd watch the big Mike Tyson fights, the Floyd Mayweather fights, Oscar De La Hoya, Manny Pacquiao. People would love boxing movies, Rocky and Creed, but they may have never thought that they could ever try boxing. It wasn't as accessible back then. During that time, people thought that boxing is something that you could only do if you were to compete in the actual sport. And to be frank, who wants to hop in a ring with somebody else who's trying to knock them out, who's trying to put them out? Not very many people do. And yes, just like the movies, you could really provide a better life for yourself through competitive boxing, becoming a world champion, becoming pound for pound best, and really being able to provide yourself a solid living off of being a competitive boxer. But how many people have actually been able to do that? The percentage is super small. Yes, the top tier, top 0.001% of competitive boxers end up being able to provide themselves financially and be able to change their lives substantially. But really, that's a small percentage. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try boxing at all. You could still benefit from the sport. Just like you could do basketball, just like you'd benefit from soccer, playing baseball on the weekends, lifting weights, exercising. Boxing is for everyone. So the #1 reason that I believe everyone should try boxing is because it shapes your mentality. Mentality is everything, and in a very tough world we live in, a tough life that we all get to live, this conquers all. The way you think about yourself, the way you think about others. Boxing literally provides all the necessary lessons and tools to sharpen your mind. I'm gonna break down how it shapes your mentality into 3 different points, being the third point my favorite one. First point, discipline. Boxing teaches you discipline. So boxing is a very technical sport. There's so much that goes behind the technique. In order for you to even feel the benefits physically, the workout of it, you need to understand the basics of your technique, your boxing stance, how to throw a proper punch, how to properly move and combine everything together. Look, it takes discipline, it takes practice, it takes time to really refine it. The movements in boxing, the boxing stance, how we throw our punches, it's not very natural for our bodies to move that way. So it takes a lot of work, a lot of drilling, and a lot of practice in order to get those moves down. The better you get at the moves, the more you start to gain out of the workout out of boxing, out of the physical elements out of boxing, out of the exercise elements of that. Disciplining yourself and training yourself, teaching yourself to practice those moves day in and day out, that is a true skill you start to develop. And look, if you start developing the skill of being disciplined about your technique through thousands of reps, you start to apply discipline to the little things outside of your boxing sessions. If you have to practice a jab 100 times within 2 or 3 rounds, it's like 10 or 12 minutes. Imagine the discipline you build outside of your sessions now. Something as little as making your bed when you get up, or going the extra mile in a work task. Those little things start to become a little easier because you have spent so much work, so much time in developing one punch. Well, if I could spend time developing one punch, I could spend time making my bed in the morning, taking that extra 30 seconds, 1 minute to do so. The little things go the longest way. discipline is forged when you start boxing. Segueing into my second point, discipline goes into work ethic. It's no lie that boxing, and I love this about boxing, the amount of work that you put into it will literally reap the benefits right back to you. So if you put more work into it, boxing will give you back a little more. Once you start to recognize and realize how boxing can benefit you, you're gonna start to work even more and start to dedicate more time into it. And through that, you start to build a relentless work ethic. Again, if you're spending so much time refining your boxing stance or refining one punch or refining one combination, and you start to see the benefits and the rewards from that, you start to put work into all the other things outside of your life that give you rewards and make you feel good as well. Your relationships, your career, that hard work starts to translate into your everyday life. Working hard in the boxing gym dedicates to working hard outside of it as well. Like I said, everything that you forge in your boxing sessions are so relatable to everything outside of them. Little recap. Point number 1, you start to forge discipline. Point number 2, you start to build a strong work ethic. Point number 3, and this is my favorite, attention to detail. Yes, you're building up good technique through solid reps, but if there's no attention to detail behind the mistakes that you were making, you will literally be going in circles when it comes into your technique. Always refining the little details in your boxing technique. You start to recognize the details in your technique in your sessions. You start to recognize the details outside of your sessions as well. Let me give you an example. All right, your boxing stance, for example, your back foot should be slightly staggered out a couple inches every time. So whether you step, you punch, you defend, you got to make sure that you're always in your proper stance at all times. That's a big detail, a small detail, that you need to think about all the time. Well, if you start refining the skills of paying attention to those little details all the time in your sessions, imagine the details you start to pay attention to, you start to become aware of outside of the gym, outside of your sessions. The little details in your relationships with your partner, with your friendships, the little details within yourself. You start to build that self-awareness. It's a little bonus tip right there. Discipline, work ethic, small details, and self-awareness. Just within those 4 tips, you should start to crave to want to become better. Look, we're put on this earth once. We are gifted one life. Why not seek out the best version of ourselves? Imagine being on your deathbed and recognizing that you could have been this or that or done this. Seek to become the best version of yourself. By the way, I call it the Maestre mentality. I preach this in a lot of my workouts and a lot of my classes at the end, is we strive to better ourselves so we can better those around us. That's how we could truly change the world and how we move and how we think. And to recap, those 3 points plus my little bonus point, why does boxing change your mentality for the better? Number 1, it helps you forge discipline. Number 2, it helps with your work ethic. It starts to build that strong, consistent work ethic. Number 3, it helps you pay attention to the little details in everything. And number 4, it helps you build that self-awareness. Just want to thank you for taking time, for checking out this kind of content. If this video gave you any value, please take the time to subscribe to the channel, interact with me on the social, comment, like, anything. I'd love to hear from you. And on that note, I'll see you in your first boxing lesson, all right? Peace.